Okay, shalom, everybody. Sorry you might not be able to see me that good because we had to go to the board today. It's just too much to try to talk you through. You had to see it with your own eyes, so to speak. All right. What's that, Shala?
I can't see
it. All right, everybody. So remember that the next new moon is going to be. Also, we're in the 22nd day now of the 12th month. 22nd day of the 12th month, and the next month is going to begin in 11 nights, in 10 nights, right? In 10 nights, all right? And 10 nights. So we're in the 22nd day of the 12th month, and the next month is going to begin in 10 more nights, all right? Which is so-called, which is going to be so-called March, so-called March 5th. All right. So, hear, O Israel, Yahweh, our power, Yahweh is one, and you shall love Yahweh, your power, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Yabaraka kam Yahweh, Bashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. So we're gonna go. You have to change those, man, because that's why I had you wearing the tunic over top of it. Because look at the stuff you're getting on the side of it. You gotta wear a tunic over there, or put on something else. Not you. All right, so we're going into, of course, the weekly show. So welcome to another episode of
It's About Time.
I said welcome to another episode of
It's About Time.
And finally, welcome to another episode of It's About Time, where it's all about time, where we show you time principles, time laws, and topics dealing with time from the Holy Bible, from the Torah, so on and so forth. Today is going to be, a little bit kind of fast-paced, but I want to go over some information that's very, very detailed and very important. All right. First, I like to start with Genesis because that's the foundation. Genesis is the foundation of everything that we have going on. So what we're going to do is start in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. I like to start normally with 1 or 2 to show you that the principles of darkness, that we're dealing with darkness. That's how time starts. All time starts with darkness. It doesn't start with a slither. It doesn't start with a crescent. It doesn't start with a sunrise. The time that we were given from Yahweh, from creation, from Genesis 1, starts in the darkness. Okay? Then after that, the light comes about. All right? So we're going to start reading from Genesis chapter 1, and we're going to read verse 14. Go ahead.
And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven.
So Elohim said that he's going to put lights in the firmament of the heaven. The lights that he's talking about is the circle of stars, okay? Mazaroth, okay? Mazarwath in the Hebrew, Mazarwath, all right? Mazarwath, which are the collection and the groups of stars that Yahweh put, in the sky above us and around us. He put them up there for a specific purpose. And today we're going to get into a little bit of the explanation of that purpose. All right. So basically, when we're dealing, sometimes you're not going to be able to see me, but I'm right here. All right. So here's the circle right here. These are the constellations, what people like to call the zodiac, which is the wrong name for them. The name that they're called in the Bible, Shalom Azariah, the name that they're called in the Bible, what we see in Job chapter 38 and 32, is called the Mazaroth or Mazarwath. Okay, Mazaroth or Mazarwath. And we're going to go into the scripture where it talks about it in just a few moments. All right, go ahead.
to divide the day from the night.
So Yahweh put the constellations in the skies to divide the day from the what?
From the night.
That means that when day is over, the daylight, because remember when he created, he said he called the light day. So in the evening, the darkness, he called the night. And we already learned before that we have 3 phases of the evening. We have 3 phases of the evening, all right, from when the Most High made the darkness and he made the light. Now remember, when he made the light, the darkness and the light were blended together. And then he divided the light from the darkness. And that gives us the principle that time, whether it's a month or whether it's a day, okay, is going to begin with something significant is going to be in the darkness. All right. The day begins with the darkness, and thus the month begins in the darkness. These are principles of nature that wisdom shows us that we just simply can't deny. So when we start to see the stars in the sky, we know now that the day is dark. All right. We have 3 phases, and even in the Gentile, Shalom Lindbergh, Waganan Bale. We have 3 phases of the evening, even in the Gentile, that they copied off of us, that they use, which is civil, okay, nautical, and astronomical. Okay, those are the 3 stages of the darkness, which for us, okay, which for us is going to be, it's going to, once we're in the day and the sun comes up, all right, we're going to have the Tzalal, all right, which is when the shadow starts to fall. Okay, after the Tzalal, we're gonna have the period when it starts to get like a little bit of dusk across the sky, and after that, the last phase is when we have el cuaderno chiquito, amigo. No está por allá. Está por allá en el otro cuarto. O pregunta a Shara dónde está. Es un cuaderno como chiquito, amarillo. All right, so now we move into this the 3 different phases, and we have the evening. So in this evening, Yahweh said, you know what? When it's fully dark, that's when I'm gonna begin the day. So that's what we're taught from Genesis, from the beginning of Genesis chapter 1, when it said the spirit of Allahaya moved upon the face of the darkness. So it moved upon the darkness, so the darkness was there first. And then Yahweh said the evening and the morning were the first day. So the day begins in the darkness. The Sabbath begins in the darkness. The month begins in the darkness. But it's the lights in the firmament that divide the day from the night. All right. They divide the day from the night. All right. Go ahead.
And let them be for signs.
Let them be for signs. Now, this Hebrew, go get the get the Hebrew Bible right here and turn to Genesis 1:14. Bajo de la taza. No, la grande allá. Sí, bajo de la taza. Y dobla y abre como Génesis 1:1, Bereshit Barashat 1:14. All right. So we believe that this word, if my memory serves me correctly, it means it says atat, which means sign, which are things that are marked in the sky. All right. Dame. Which are things that are marked in the sky. All right. So let's go to here. And now Genesis Bereshit Barashat 1:14. And it says, luminous in the firmament, let them serve as signs. All right. Let them serve as signs. All right. So it says, Bayan ha'awad wa bayan halayela wa hayawa la athat wa Hayawa la Atat. All right, so let them be for signs. So a sign is something that's there to be recognized, something that sets, it identifies. Now, this word right here comes from a word to mean diffuse or spread, the mazarot. All right, and it also comes from another word that means distinction. They link it up to the word distinction also. So these signs that we're talking about are the constellations. It's the constellation. It's the constellation. The constellations are the 12 groups of stars that are divided into 30 degrees each that make that make kind of like a circle. That make kind of like a circle in the sky. And we are inside of that circle. The earth, the sun, and the moon are all inside of that circle. Yo lo dije que yo pensaba que era allá, pero yo no sabía que era ahí abajo de los libros, pero me disculpe, por favor, señor. So, yeah. So they're there for signs. All right. And that's why they call this thing the zodiac, the signs. But those signs are for days and to indicate seasons and to indicate years. That's why we have the constellations. And that's what I'm going to go into today. But first, we want to get the scriptural understanding. El entendimiento de los versículos de la Biblia sobre las constelaciones. Okay, go ahead.
And for seasons.
For seasons. Now, this word for seasons right here is the word mawa'id. Okay, you don't have the Hebrew right there, do you? All right. This word, it says wa la wa ma'aidium. Wa la mawa'aidium. Wa la mawa'aidium. Or wa le moedim. Wa le moedim. So wa la mawa'aidium. So for seasons. Now, that word right there that we just read in if you can read this, I know it looks a little messy, but it is because I had to write notes all over the place. So mawa'aidium, this word mawa'aid. This is the same word that we see when we look inside of the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, when the Most High talks about the feast and the festivals. So now we see that the feast of Yahweh are connected to all of these signs that he put in heaven. That's going to be very important when we talk about this right here. And when we talk about this right here, when we talk about the Mazaniam, and when we talk about the Ahyal Talat, which represents the first and strength, which is the first constellation, which is the first in the order of the lights that Yahweh put in the firmament for signs and seasons. The seasons tell you that you're going to be able to distinguish the seasons of your celebration, the seasons of the Moedim or the Mawa'aidim that Yahweh, has given us. The Mawa'aidim that Yahweh has given us are going to be distinct. The Mawa'aidim that Yahweh has given us are going to be able to be empirically set according to the position of the sun and the moon and the earth within the constellation, within this circle of stars, within these lights in the firmament. So for signs and seasons, and just for edification, I want you to turn in you got to get a Hebrew Bible, because sometimes in English they may use, like this one says seasons, and the other one in the King James, it says feasts. So most people would never relate the feast and seasons together, but it's the same exact word. So these things have to happen when the earth, the constellations, the sun, and the moon are in certain positionings. because that's about time. It's not about astrology. It's not about telling your future. It's not about reading your palm. It's about time. And time, as we know it, is calculated according to the movement in the constellations. That's why every constellation is 30 degrees. Constellation meaning the group of stars. All right, that of which we have 12 major ones that we use for time. It's divided into 30 degrees each. In each degree, you understand, degrees have 59 minutes in them, and the 59 minutes are broken down into I believe 30 seconds each. All right. So anyway, don't quote me on that one, but you can quote me on everything else I said. All right, so let's go into Leviticus. And once again, as usual, I'm using the Stone Edition Chumash. All right, the Stone Edition Chumash. And I'm going to Leviticus chapter 23. And I know, some of you may have heard this before. You may be familiar with astronomy, all right, and the movement of the earth and the heavenly bodies in a synchronized pattern that was designed from creation, but it bears repetition, and I want to share some more information with you, okay? So let's go into Leviticus chapter 23, and I'm going to read verse 1. Now, this is what it says. It says, Wayadabari Yahweh al-Masha la-Amar. So Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Dabar al-Banya Yasharallah, speak unto the sons of Israel, the sons of Yasharallah. Okay? Wa amartha, and say unto Wa amartha al-Ham, and say unto them, Mawa'idya. See that? Mawa'idya Yahweh Ashara. Okay? The feast of Yahweh, which the Quada'awa, which you shall announce, or you shall call, or you shall tell and speak. Ma Quada'a. Quada'a means to speak. That's where the Arabs get the word Quran from the Hebrew word Quada'a, which means to speak, or to read, or to recite, or to call together. All right? It says, the Quada'a wa. Call them, it says, Atham ma Quada'a, Kodash. Convocations or gatherings holy. So it says Mawa'idya. All right, these are the appointed feast of Yahweh. Okay, now when we go into verse 4 again, it said, where in the English it says, these are my appointed feasts. These are the appointed feasts of Hashem, is what it says in English over here. Now, in the Hebrew, it says, Alha Mawa'idya Yahweh. These are the feasts, the festivals of Yahweh. But remember, the same word we see in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, where it says seasons, is the same word that when we go into Leviticus chapter 1, verse 2, and verse 4, where it says feasts and festivals, it's the same exact word. Same exact word. Same word, Mawa'idya. So we see intrinsically and irrefutably that these feasts that Yahweh is talking about, that this time that Yahweh is talking about it, is connected to the constellations and connected to our celebrations, our worship time, our special days that Yahweh has given us. Okay, so let's continue and read on.
And for days,
for signs, seasons, Shalom, Jacob, Israel, for signs, seasons, and for what?
And for days.
And for days. So the reckoning of our days, which so many days, so many months complete a year, is done according to the constellations. So that's why when we see the stars come out, we know for sure we're in a new day. No doubt about it. When the stars come out, we know for sure that we are in a new day. For sure. We know that. So that's why they're for days. For days and for what?
And years.
And for what?
and years.
And for what?
Years.
So you know that the moon moves at a different pace. The sun moves at a different pace. But what calibrates them? What is that tool that's used that brings everything back into synchronization? And it's the constellations. And it's a pattern that's going to happen every 19 years. And I explained that a few shows back. I explained that. All right. And a few shows back, we explained that and we demonstrated it. We showed it. I would like to post it here, but I don't know if I have the resource to go ahead and put it up here. But I might put it up on my page just so you can see it. But it's every 19 years, the date on the solar calendar and the date on the lunar calendar, they coincide. So if you look at, April 6th, 1973, all right, in April 6th, April 6 plus 19, April 6, 92, right? All right, April 6, 1992. And you look at April 6, 2011. All right. If you look at all those things, okay. If you look at all those things, you'll see that on the same day, let's say April 5th, the sun is in the same constellation, the moon is right with it in all 3 years. And then if you look at the constellation, it's in the same constellation. If you look at the solar date will be the same for all 3 of those years, April 5th or whatever. And the lunar date would be the same also. First of the month. And that doesn't happen every month. That doesn't happen even every year. It happens about every 19 years. So once we see this pattern and we know it, we see that it's not the sun and the moon exclusively, but it's the backdrop of the constellations that are static. They don't move. They don't have no variation. All right. Sometimes you're going to have an equinox on the 19th. Sometimes it's going to be on the 21st. Sometimes it's going to be on the 20th. What does that mean? That means this. The sun is not moving at a constant pace, which means that you're never going to have every single year as a certain amount of days, because the sun is never moving at the same speed. If it did, you'd have no variation. Now, if the sun was the sole determining factor of what the weather was like on the earth, then every equinox or every solstice, we'd have the same kind of temperature in the area. And that's not the case. Now, if it was just the moon, same thing. Every time the moon was in the same constellation at the same position, we'd have a certain amount or a certain kind of temperature, and it's not. Everything is done against the backdrop of the constellations. And that's what we're learning. That's what we're talking about today. The constellations are the stars, of which there's 12 major groups of stars. There's 12 major groups of the stars. And once you see those 12 major groups, they have an effect of what's happening. They have an effect of not what's happening, but they have an effect on how we count our months. But they also have an effect, when they link up with the sun and link up with the moon, on the temperature and the weather on the earth. We know that the closer the moon gets to the earth, what does it do? It starts to agitate the waves. The waves start to get high. High and low tide, are affected by the moon. All right, move to the right a little. Move to the okay. Not the right, but the left. Okay, so finish that scripture for what did it say at the beginning again? For signs, seasons. Read out loud again. Read loud.
And Elohim Saturn, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
For signs and for seasons. Okay? For signs and for seasons. All right, so he says that these things are for signs and for seasons, for days and for years. So for signs, seasons, days, and years. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go to we're going to go to two corroborating verses. So first we want to go to, let's go to Job chapter 38 first. Job chapter 38, and let's go to verse 32. Job chapter 38, verse 32. Job 38, 32. Job 38, 32. All right.
Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in his season?
Can what?
Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in his season?
Can you bring forth Mazzaroth in his season? That's what it says. Can you bring forth Mazzaroth in his season? Okay. And let's see. That's Job 38, 32. Okay. Read that again.
Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in his season?
Can you bring forth Mazzaroth in his season? Okay. In his season. So season here is talking about time. Season here is talking about time. Okay. Season is talking about time. So there's a certain time. Now we know that, when we're talking about 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock is always what? It's always what? What is 3 o'clock always? 3 o'clock is always 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock don't mean something today. It means something different tomorrow. It means something different a year from now. 3 o'clock is always 3 o'clock. So this time, the Most High said, can you bring forth Mazzaroth in his time? In what?
In his season.
So in his season. So first of all, we see that the Most High is talking about, all right, and the Spirit just showed me this. The word Mazzaroth is plural. But why is it called a Mazzaroth his or its? All right. Not in their time, but in his time. Because the his or the it is referring to the circle. Because it all joins together to make a circle. All right. So first we're going to talk about the Mazzaroth. The Mazzaroth is all dealing with the distinction. And I don't have my Hebrew Bible with me now, and I don't have my phone app with me right now where I can look up the Hebrew Bible. So I apologize for that. So I'm gonna have to do some old-fashioned page turning. All right, so we're dealing with a Mazzaroth. All right. And a lot of time, if you have like a Strong's concordance, I encourage you to use it as a dictionary. Don't always use it to look up a scripture. Read through the Hebrew section sometimes just to read the words. All right. Now it has in here, it tells us that it says Mazarah. It says from 5144, which is Nazar, in the sense of distinction. Some noted some noted constellation only in the plural, perhaps collectively the zodiac, Mazzaroth. Now, what I did was I just looked at the root word itself, because ma can be used as a suffix in front of a word, which denotes the movement or the action of something. So I went and looked at the root of the second word is Mazzaroth, but that root word would be zara. So when we go to the word zara, all right, mazara, which would be like a singular form of it, Mazzaroth, because remember, it said that it's only used in the plural in the scripture. It's only used this way, not used in the singular. But when we look into the singular form of it, it says what? It says zara, mazara. When we look up zara, zara means to diffuse or to scatter or to spread around. Now, when you look at the stars in the sky, are they not diffused? Are they not scattered around? Okay. Now, the word that they say is coming from another word, which is which they say means distinction. They say it means distinction. All right. So we got to take that for what it's worth, but we know that they are divided into segments, but all together they make up one group. And that's why the Most High calls it by a plural name, but uses a singular pronoun when it's referred to. All right. Shalom Lakai, Hezekiah. Hezekiah, you be getting it in, man. Hallelujah. So now, this is what we're saying. The scriptures are clear about it, but they're a mystery. So remember now, read that verse again.
Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth?
Stop. Mazzaroth is a plural word. Bring forth Mazzaroth when?
In its season.
Mm-hmm.
Or canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons?
Arcturus with his sons is getting into a bright star that has little stars behind it. Read.
Knowest thou the ordinances of heaven? Canst thou set the dominion thereof in the earth? Canst thou lift up thy voice to the clouds, that the abundance of waters may cover thee?
Okay, so we see the Most High dealing with things up high that we can't deal with, that only He can control. All right, and that's why the Most High had Solomon write this in the Bible. Now remember, we read this verse. It's a plural word. It's a plural word, but the scripture says in his time. So let's go into Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13, verse 1. A lot of these scriptures, you're going to see me pounding when we have class, so you can get it thoroughly understood that these are the only few verses that are really necessary to build a basic foundation. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13, verse 1. Okay, read.
Surely vain are all men by nature,
Mm-hmm.
who are ignorant of all Him, and who could not out the good thing that is seen know by Him. That is, neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the workmaster. So
when they look at the work of the Most High, they don't acknowledge Yahweh. Okay, read.
But
they deemed either fire, read,
or wind,
go ahead,
or the swift air,
go ahead,
or the circle of stars,
go ahead,
or the violent water,
or the violent waters, go ahead,
or the lights of heaven,
go ahead,
to be gods which govern the world.
So they took the circle of stars, and they took the waters, and they took the lights of heaven to be gods which govern the earth. But wait a minute, did you catch that? What did you notice? Read that. I'm gonna see which one of y'all gonna catch this. And I've said this before in the classes. Read that verse. Read those words again and start from above circle, the word before circle.
the circle of stars, or the violent water, or the lights of heaven, to be gods which govern the world.
So, who noticed that? Who saw what just happened? Read it again. Circle of stars.
The circle of stars.
Circle of, now what are stars? Stars are stuff that's in the sky. Describe them. Okay. That's bright. Okay, so they're in the sky and they give off light. That's what we see. A star is. So stars are in the sky and they give off light. But this particular set of stars are called a circle. Now let's continue reading. Circle of stars.
Or the violent water.
Or the violent waters. Go ahead.
Or the lights of heaven.
Stop. Why does it say circle of stars and then it says lights of heaven? Because the circle of stars are in their own category. And then the other lights and the other moon and the other sun, and the other stars are in their own category. The circle of stars in their own category, because that's the backdrop to everything. So when we go back to Genesis 1:14, and Yahweh says, let them be for signs and seasons and days and years, Ayatan. He's talking about these circle of stars, these constellations. All right. Indisputably. There's no other place in the Bible where we see a distinction made between two sets of lights in the sky. You got the bigger set, which is on the outside, which is the Mazaroth, or the Mazarwath from Job 38:22, and then you have the smaller set, which is the other stars, and then you have the moon, and you have the sun. All right, so that's the next set. So when you read in Genesis 1, verse 15 and 16, verse 15 says that it was done. It was so when he made those lights in the firmament. It was so. And then when you go to verse 16, he made the bright light, the greater light, the lesser light. And then it says that after that, the greater light and the lesser light, after that it said he made the stars also. So the first set of stars that we really need to be concerned about is the circle of stars that people call the constellations. And there's 12 of them. And we have our Hebrew records to show that we did them too. We did them to calculate time. They were part of a clock. And we knew that once this constellation came in, that bam, we about to enter Passover. Because we knew the calculations and the mathematics from the past and the present and then projecting into the future. Most High said, if the sun and the moon, all right, give me Jeremiah 31:35 real quick. Hurry up. Jeremiah 31:35. Read that. A lot of people try to say, oh, well, the Most High is going to stop the sun. He's going to stop the moon. All right. A lot of things in the Bible are literal and some things are metaphor. But the Most High made these things in the sky to be for ordinances forever. All right. 31:35. Read.
Thus saith Yahweh.
Thus saith Yahweh. Go ahead.
Which giveth the sun for a light.
We gave a sun for a light by day. Read.
And the ordinances of the moon.
The ordinances of the moon. Go ahead.
And the stars for a light.
And the stars for what?
For a light by night.
For a light by night. So we got sun, moon, and stars. Joseph's dreams. All right. So the Most High said, the Yahweh made the sun, moon, and star. He's the creator. So this is what he's saying about those things. Go ahead.
Which divided the sea when the waves thereof roar.
See that? We still got the water relationship too. The water, the seas. Why do you say water in Hebrew? Mayam. Mayam. What's the first word we're dealing with? Which is the Mazaroth. All right, the Mazaroth. What's the first word we went into? The Mawaidim, the movement, the water. Mayim. That's the first letter. All right, we got Mazarwa, we got Mawa'aya. So we're dealing with movement inside of the waters, which the Most High divided and put the lights in the firmament. All right, go ahead.
Yahweh of hosts is his name.
Yahweh of hosts is his name. Go ahead.
If those ordinances depart from me.
If those ordinances, if they don't follow orders no more, if they depart from before Yahweh, if they say, you know what, we ain't gonna shine no more, we ain't gonna do these things no more. Read.
Saith Yahweh.
Then
the seed of Yashar'Allah also shall cease from being a nation before me.
So when the sun stopped doing its job, when the moon stopped doing her job, then that means that you don't exist as a people no more before Yahweh. Is that the end of that verse? All right, go ahead.
Forever.
Forever. All right, so that's what the Most High said. He said, as long as the sun and moon is up there, my covenant is with Israel. And the sun and the moon are still up there, and they're doing their job. None of them are going to faint in their watch. None are going to faint in their watch. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to try to explain this a little bit. All right, explain a little bit. Give me Job 14. I'm sorry. Give me 1 Corinthians. Give me 1 Corinthians 14 to 40. 1 Corinthians 14 40. First Corinthians 14 and 40. 1 Corinthians, we waiting for chapter 14 and verse 40. We waiting, we waiting, we waiting. You see? 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 40. Can't find it fast enough. All right, 1 Corinthians 14 to 40. Read.
Let all things.
Let what?
Let all things.
Marriage.
All things.
Children.
All things.
Dietary.
All things.
Laws.
All things.
All right. Family.
All things.
Time.
All things.
The stars.
All things.
The clock.
All things.
Time.
All things.
The year.
All things.
The month.
All things.
Let all things be done what?
Be done decently and in order.
So you mean to tell me the Most High going to tell you to do stuff in order, but he don't got an order to how the sun and the stars is operating? There's no synchronization. There's something more than just an equinox, because we don't even read about anything called an equinox in the Bible. We don't read about anything called an equinox, not denying the equinox, but we just don't read about it in the Bible. Now, if you go to an outside book that you're not going to be judged by, hey, that's on you. But as far as me and my house, we're going to be judged by the Torah. I'm not going to be judged by nothing that Paul wrote, that Matthew wrote, that Enoch wrote. I'm not going to be judged by none of that. I'm going to be judged by the Torah. So my doctrine is based on the Torah. Bottom line. And that's the beautiful thing about what we're trying to do at It's About Time. We're trying to have everything reconciled back to the Torah. So we already dealing with the constellations. And the Most High said do everything decently and in order. Now let's go into Exodus now. Let's just go into Exodus real quick. Exodus chapter 13, verse 1. And then we're going to get into this. If you can't prove it in the Bible, man, then it's not important. Let's put it like that. If you can't prove it in the Bible, and if you can't reconcile it back to Yahweh is in the Torah, Yahweh is prophesied in the Torah. Our redemption is prophesied in the Torah. Our captivity is prophesied in the Torah. The Most High forsaking us is prophesied in the Torah. The slave ship is prophesied in the Torah. All right. So all these things are prophesied in the Torah. So we know that we got to reconcile everything to the Torah. Yahweh going to judge you by the Torah, not by no other books, man. So if your doctrine ain't solid from the Torah, then I don't know what to tell you. You're slipping. All right, let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 13. Let's start from verse 1. Go ahead.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe,
So Yahweh said to Moses, go ahead.
Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb,
go ahead,
among the children of Yashar'Allah,
right?
Both of man and of beast, it is mine.
Okay.
And Moshe said to the people, remember this day in which you came out from Egypt.
Remember this day that you came out of Egypt. Go ahead.
Out of the house of bondage.
Out of the house of bondage. So remember this day that you came out of Egypt, which was the 15th day of Abib. Go ahead.
For by strength of hand.
By strength of hand. Go ahead.
Yahweh brought you out from this place.
So Yahweh showed his might, plagues, did some killing for us. All right. Put diseases on people. He had hail, which is like frozen water, small little big frozen ice balls, and he made it come from the sky, and it was mixed with fire. So it's fire and ice together. So Yahweh showed his power. Read.
There shall be no leavened bread be eaten. This day came ye out in the month Abib. And it is when Yahweh shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites.
So he talked about the month came you out. What was the month he said?
Abib.
So he said the month that we came out was on the month Abib. Now Abib is the Hebrew word is Abayab, all right, which really means it really comes from a word that means people like to say it means the word spring. The first word means ox. The second word means house. The third word means hand. The third letter means hand. And the fourth, but make it a little smaller though first. And the third, the fourth letter means what? Means house again. Abayab, when you write it out. So you dealing with an ox, house, your hand, and then the ox. So what is that talking about? Okay, let me ask somebody that's never, okay, what do you do? Let's say you got your ox, and then you leave your house, and you put your hand to the ox, and then it's a house again. What happened? You taking the ox out to start to do what? To start to plow. So what's that talking about? Now you're talking about the spring season. But we're talking about really the plowing season when the agricultural year starts. You see that? When the agricultural year, when it starts. Everybody see that? So when the agricultural year starts. So that's what you want to call spring. But it means it means ox, house, hand, and house. So what is that? That's clearly talking about field work. That's clearly talking about barns where the ox lives at, his crib. And that's clearly talking about you coming from your house. Okay, so that's clear. See, a lot of these Hebrew words, when you look at the Hebrew letters, you get a more of a picture, a pictographic understanding of it. Okay, so now let's go into you just read Exodus chapter 13 and 1, right? Now let's read Exodus let's read Exodus chapter let's read 12 and 1.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and Aharon in the land of Egypt, saying, this month.
Stop. What month was it? Abib. So we know it's talking about the month of Abib because we already read that the Most High called it a yeah, but it wouldn't be good for him. So probably, maybe make it halfway between the top part right here and where that is. That way it can fit onto him too. And probably me too. Be snug on me. I can wear it open though. So listen. All right. He says the what? He says the Kadash. All right. Listen what he said. He said this. He says Hakadash Hazah. Hakadash Hazah. All right. Now, Kadash itself means renewing. It means new. In the word Kadash, it always starts. Any word that begins with that CH is always usually going to, well, I won't say always, usually, but a lot of times it's going to be talking about something that progresses. Because if you can read, if you can see over here, if you got this, which is a word for Kadash, that's the letter for Kadash. All right, that's the first letter. Some people, you're going to see it like that with two of them, you know. But now it's a fence or a ladder. Where is it at? It's in the ground. What is the ground? What's under the ground? Under the ground is not light. It's darkness, but it's solid. So it's a solid, firm what? Start. It's a solid, firm start. Remember, the day starts in what? The darkness. So the month or the Kadash starts in what? The darkness. Something that's new to you starts what? Not being new to you. So it's totally dark to you, and then, oh, this is new. Like if I say here, bam, this is yours now. You know, it wasn't available to you now. You had no access to it before. You know, it's Kadash, something that's spanking Kadash. Meaning it's something new. It's something that's beginning a phase. So the word for moon itself is Kadash, which represents a ladder, or it represents what? It represents progression, a division. That's what this sign symbolizes. The Hebrew word for it, it says fence. And fences set up barriers, but fences, you also what? It has rungs on it too. What are those rungs for? This is a rung right here, right there, right there. What's that for? That's so you can climb up the daggone thing. Or so you can see through it, but still stuff that's big can't pass through it. So that's Kadash. The next letter we know is going to be a Dalat. Dalat, which represents what? A door. Something entering and exiting. A door. I need another marker, please. Yeah, we got to get some $5 markers. Right, that's the dash, dalat, where it represents the door, because it's going through different constellations. It's going through a change, one phase to another, which is what something new is also representing. But this one ends with shan, and that shan means tooth. So that's something that's going to be processed, something that runs through a cycle, that runs through a operation. So that's the word Kadash. It means month, but it also means new. Month, but it also means new. All right, so now the Most High says this Kadash. Read. Verse 2.
This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. The
beginning of months. So yeah, how it says, he says, Kadash Hazah Lakam with a ash kadashim with a ash one. All right. So it's the head. It says to you all, the head of the months, head Hawa'ah, it be Lakam to you all, La Kadasha. It's going to be the head of the months, the head of these phases. All right. So now we have a month or a phase in which you start to deal with your ox. You start to take your ox out. You start to take your ox out. You start to do things differently around your house. You start to use your hand and your force with that animal a little more. Because that's what the month means. Abib. See, the Most High, he gave us those letters for a reason. Abba, Yab. He gave us those 4 letters for a reason. The Alap represents the power. The Alap represents the power, but literally it represents the ox. So let's look at it metaphorically. The power of protection, with a wielded power over the house, which is to what? Which is to guard, which is to protect, which is to safeguard, okay, which is to control the whole cipher. And that, again, in the wintertime is when everything is tranquil. You relax. Now, when the summertime or when the hot season starts to begin, so-called spring, now that ox in that house, in that hand, in that house, you know. And I remember a lot of these words. Remember, a lot of these words are cycle, so they don't stop. They repeat. So you have, let's say, Abba, which let's say this again. Okay, father, hand, house. So when a father's hand is put to the house, meaning what? Controlling his whole cipher inside and outside, the house representing all that is his possession, all that's under his control, everything, which the primary function is to make sure that we all eat. The primary function is to make sure we all survive, and that was done in the field, especially in primordial times. That was done in the field, that was done through hunting. But on a cyclical basis that you can control, it was done through the field of planting crops. So this word abib means more than just springtime. It means to perpetuate a condition where the animals and man are working together. Once again, if we want to look at this word right here, the foundation of the house is the soil, is the dirt. So we always got that dirt involved in a lot of stuff that we're doing. If you want that ox to be good, what you going to do to him? You got to feed him vegetables. You got to feed him. You got to feed him grains, right? You got to feed him wheat, all right. If you want that animal to be good, you got to give him water. So you can't forget that. Okay, you got to give him that mayam, not the yayan, unless you got like an ox that likes to drink wine. All right. So this is what we're dealing with right here. So he said this will be the beginning of the month. That's the end of the verse, right? All right, keep reading.
It shall be the first month of the year to you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it shall be the first month of the year to you. So now, as this month is the first day of the year, Yahweh tells us, all right, he's telling us something, okay? He's telling us about, we have animals, and we have two houses, and we have a hand. The hand can represent movement, that deliberate and strong exercising of power is what we're going to look at when we say when we deal with that hand, man. All right, when we deal with the hand. All right. Shalom, Ikaran. Hallelujah. Yeah, I'll try to hit you back if I can, man, Ikaran, after the class is over. Hallelujah. Ayatan, shalom, man. I was wondering where you was at. Uh-oh, I got to tighten up on my Hebrew. We got the Malachi Maccabee Hebrew scholar on the line. I got to tighten up on my Hebrew. I'm going to just type all the Hebrew words in here, Malachi, so you can say them for us, man. So you can say the words for us. Hallelujah, y'all praise to the Most High. Brother got online, man. You can go to, the brother got the Torah classes online, man. We watched them, me and Mishpaka, we watched the videos about the Hebrew, when he went into the Hebrew and reading like a lesson, the primer basic Hebrew. If you put in primer basic Hebrew, I think he was one of the only ones on there that had a video on that topic, so it won't be hard to find. The primer biblical Hebrew, a primer basic Hebrew. All right, just look up. I think it's Honor and Humility, St. Louis, and you should find it, man. It was real good. We're gonna watch the second one next as soon as we get a chance to sit down together and look at it. But anyway, this is the lettering. This is the wording that he gave us. So now let's get back to what? I know you. Well, what about the circle of the stars? Let's get back to the circle of the stars now. So remember, let all things be done decently in order, right? The Most High say he gave us the Mazaroth, the Mazaroth, or the Mazarwath for what? For signs, season, days, and years. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you the pattern of the years I'm going to show you the pattern of the years that happens with the circle of the stars that Solomon talks about, and with the Mazarwath, which is the circle of the stars that we read about from Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. Now, if anybody else got any other theories out there about what is the circle of stars, hey, be my guest and submit what you say it is, and we'll look at it, review it, and see, look at these other impossible options. All right. So now I'm gonna go into it now. In the year 2012, the sun and the moon, they lined up in the first constellation, which is a lamb or a sheep. It represents Yahushua, represent sacrifice. It represents the Most High having a new relationship with Israel. The high priest, when he messed up, the bullock was sacrificed. Sacrifice the bullock. All right. So first he had to offer up the sacrifice for himself, and then he offered up a sacrifice for Yasha Allah. All right. So we kind of see that right here, but we ain't gonna stretch it too far. So now that sheep represents power. All right. It's going to be called Ayal in Hebrew. Now look up these words. Get a Hebrew dictionary and look up the words. All right. The first one is Ayal, and the second one is Tayat. So look up those words. Ayal and Tayat. Look up those words. Now these words go into what they call Aries, which represents the sheep, which represents the lamb, which represents Yahushua, which represents is a foreshadowing that the Most High told us in the stars of the Passover, of our captivity and our liberation. All right. So this right here is the symbol used for this first month. All right. Because remember, it's regulated by this. These are the ones that set the pace for time, not the sun and the moon by itself, because they could be anywhere at any time. But those constellations are fixed. The Mazarwa from Job 38:32, those are in a fixed position. They do not move. They do not move. All right. So we explain this from the Bible. Remember, we didn't go to no other book that laid it out perfectly and showed us how to do X, Y, and Z. And then when we investigated thoroughly, everything that's being said, if you investigate it thoroughly, it ain't true if it don't come from the Bible. It's going to be some flaw in it. All right. What I'm saying now, examine it, test it, prove it, and see for yourself. So now, when it came into this constellation of Aries, so-called Aries, the first constellation, we had a new moon. We had a new moon over here. We had a new moon over here on the 10:37 Eastern time on the 22nd of March, which means that you can relax, which means that it actually started on the 21st. It actually started on the 21st. You can push that back if you need to. It actually started on the 21st of March. So if you go 21, I ain't gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. I'm gonna explain everything to you first. Right now, if you go into, if you go into 2013 and you look at so-called March, it's at the end of the 12th constellation and it's going into, it's going into the first constellation. It's going into the first constellation. Now, if you wait over here, it's leaving the first constellation now. It's going out of it. It's 20 degrees in, which means it's about to leave in a few days. The sun is about to move out of it. So the moon's closing out at the end of that constellation, but it ain't gonna be the sun. The sun's not gonna be in it after the moon leaves for too much longer. It's gonna spend most of its time in the second constellation. So this shows us that this right here was gonna be the second month, because the moon is setting the pace in the constellation. The sun is there, then the moon comes and gets in front of the sun and says, bam, we're in a new month. And then she moves on and keep on going. Bam, now we're in a new month. And she moves on, keep on going. And then bam, we're in a new month. Whenever they line up, all right, remember the Most High called the sun a man, and he called the woman a female. So whenever they link up, it's a new month. And they have that blackness on the sky. It's a new month. Not with the crescent, not with the latter crescent, or the former crescent, not with the waning crescent or the waxing crescent, not with the crescent or the quiescent. All right, it's not the waning. I got kind of tongue twisted. It's the waning crescent and the waxing crescent. All right, the waning and the waxing crescent. The waning crescent comes at the end of the month, and the waxing crescent comes after the new moon. See, nobody argues when the new moon is. The argument is, when do we start to count the month? That's what you should count the month, when the month starts. When the new moon comes in. All right. The Most High said this month. Listen what Yahweh said. Yahweh said this month is the beginning of the year. This new period. When does a new period start? When the sun and moon line up. That's when the new moon starts. All right. It's not based on your physical observation, because it's happening in time and space, whether you know it, acknowledge it, or like it or not. It's still happening. All right. So that's when we start the new year right here. Over here, we start the new year, even though we're still in the 12th constellation, which represents the fish, which represents the end of Yahweh's life when he told them, go be fishermen of men. Go ye therefore and teach all nations. All right. It also represents us now, we being fishers. That's the last commission Yahweh gave us, to be fishermen. But the time is going to come when we're gonna be hunting people. That's what the scripture says. So we ain't gonna be talking, we're gonna be hunting. There's gonna be a lot of loss of life, a lot of human casualties behind the ordinances and instructions that Yahweh is gonna give to execute justice upon this earth by the hand of the children of Israel. All right, you can look at give me Ezekiel 25 real quick. Ezekiel 25:15. Let me just get that real quick, y'all. God. God. Impossible options. Go ahead, 25:15. Read that. Ezekiel 25:15. Read that.
Thus saith Adonai Yahweh.
Thus saith Yahweh. Go ahead.
Because the Philistines have dealt by revenge.
Give me 12. Give me 12. Ezekiel 25:12. Read that.
Thus saith Yahweh. Because the
Edom, which is you so-called Europeans, the one that got all of this twisted around. You taking the zodiac, you taking the constellations, and you're using it for witchcraft. You're using it for evil. You're telling people, oh no, you can't get married today because your son is in the 3rd house of Saturn, in the 4th stage of Aquarius. So you can't do that now. It's wrong. It's witchcraft, man. It's evil. We doing the time and the stars and the constellations to get our months and to get our years. Just like Yahweh said in Ezekiel and in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. That's it. Read. Because who have done what?
Edom.
Because who?
Edom.
America.
Edom.
Canada.
Edom.
France.
Edom.
Spain.
Edom.
Germany.
Edom.
Russia.
Edom.
Britain.
Edom.
Poland.
Edom.
The Netherlands.
Edom.
Because that Edom, who?
Edom.
The European.
Edom.
The Australian.
Edom.
The South African white so-called man.
Edom.
Because Edom has done what?
Have dealt against the house of Judah.
He was our buddy.
dealt against the house of Judah.
Because the white man, he dealt against us. So his whole deal was against you. Everything he was doing was a deal to take you down, to go against you. So everything he did with this stuff is against us. All these extra new books he's bringing out is to go against us. It ain't to help us. The Most High is not revealing new lost books in the last days to let us see that everything we was doing before now was wrong. Come on, man. So the white man have dealt against us. Read.
By taking vengeance.
By doing what?
Taking vengeance.
It's all spiritual warfare, baby. He taking vengeance on us because he mad. And he know he can't get us fair and square, so he getting us through our books. He getting us through our love of the Most High. I'm going to introduce this book and this book, and I'm going to cause division within Israel. I'm not going to. We got the Torah. So now he said, well, you know what? Now I'm going to show something that's more clearer than the Torah, and I'm going to introduce that. And then that's going to cause the children of Israel to be divided. Because the so-called white man have done what?
And have greatly offended.
He have greatly offended. Meaning this man have committed so many atrocities and crimes and evils and sins against us. From raping of the men, raping of the women, cutting the women's stomachs open and throwing the babies against the rocks, feeding our little babies and cutting unborn babies out the womb to their dogs, burying our people alive, cutting off fingers, hands, toes, ankles, and then feeding them to his dog because we didn't get enough gold from the cave that day. That's what he did to us. Because we didn't give him enough silver from the mines. Because we didn't go to the ocean deep enough to get enough pearls. So he's going to kill a couple of Ephraimites from the tribe of Joseph, known as Boricua today, Puerto Ricans. He's going to kill them because they didn't bring pearls from the bottom of the ocean. Read.
And revenged himself upon them.
He revenged himself upon the children of Israel. Read.
Therefore, thus saith Yahweh.
Therefore, this is what Yahweh said. Read.
I will also stretch out my hand.
I will stretch out my hand
upon Edom.
He's going to stretch his hand against Edom. Go ahead.
And will cut off man and beast from it.
The whole living creatures in this land, the land of the north, is going to be cut off. Read.
And I will make it desolate.
It's going to be desolate. Read.
From Teman and they of Dedan.
Now, Teman and Dedan right now, people still there. It's talking about Babylon. Read.
Shall fall by the sword. And I will lay my vengeance.
I will lay my vengeance where?
Upon Edom.
I will lay my vengeance upon Edom, upon the so-called European, upon the so-called white man. Yahweh is going to be vengeful upon you. Go ahead.
By the hand of my people, Yasharal.
And he's going to use the children of Israel to do it. He's going to use the 12 tribes, the indigenous people in the Americas, and the people that came here in slavery. He's going to use us to lay his vengeance upon them. Read.
And they shall do in Edom.
They're going to do in Edom. They're going to punish the so-called white man. Go ahead.
According to mine anger.
According to the degree of anger, of piss-offity that the Most High has upon Edom. Read.
And according to my fury.
And according to his fury. Go ahead.
And they shall know my vengeance.
And they're going to know that his vengeance has been upon them. Go ahead.
Thus saith Yahweh. That was the end of verse 2.
Okay, so Yahweh says that he is going to lay his vengeance on Edom by the children of Israel. All right, so we just wanted to get that out. So all this we got to go through because your little stupid school systems ain't teaching us nothing except to rely on you, look at a piece of paper and say, oh, today is March 3rd. Okay, why? Because this paper says so. Oh, today is March 4th. Why? Because the paper says so. Well, our Hebrew students, our Hebrew children, our Hebrew people, we have to be more intelligent than that. We have to know why and be able to explain why and to demonstrate it. Okay, so now on this year, we already talked about that one. Now in this year, this is a very peculiar specimen here. This is very peculiar right here. Now you see right here, it's in the 12th constellation, but it's at 10 degrees. So it's too early to keep as the new year. Not because it's in March, but because of where it's at in the constellations. So now when March 30th comes, we have another new month. Another new month is happening when the sun and the moon line up in the first degrees of Ayal Talat. Ayal Talat. So they line up in Ayal Talat at 9 degrees, all right, and 58 minutes. 9 degrees out of 30 and 58 minutes out of 60. So they line up. So that tells us that now we're going to be in the new year now. We're going to be in the new year. Because we're in the right constellation, and when the sun and the moon are in that constellation together, they pass in front of each other. That's called an inferior conjunction. And once they line up, the moon, she moves on out, you know, fast, and then the sun is moving slow. Then the moon catches up with the sun again. So that's when we have the new moon. So the sun is going to pass all through that constellation now, through all 21 degrees. Then when it gets to 30, 39 degree and 59, bam, now it's going to go into the next constellation, which is the bull. Now, in the year, that was the year 2014. In the year 2015, what happened? Look at this. It's toward the end of the constellation. It's at 29 degrees and 27 minutes in the last constellation, which is the two fish. All right, which is the two fish. So now when you look, remember, we had that same thing going on. Well, we're not gonna get into that just yet. Kind of right here, but it's more toward the end, but then we're gonna jump into it. See, jumping into the next constellation. So that's why we observed it right there. Okay. So now over here, all right, look at this. All right, over here, and this thing, check this out. When you look at this, it's in the 12th constellation, but in a couple of days, the sun is going to move to the next constellation, but which is the first constellation, but the moon has already been in it. Now, if you wait till right here, if you wait until it goes into April 18th, if you wait till right there for that new year, what's going to happen? You already at the end of the first constellation when it's a new year. So you in the last constellation, and you're going to be keeping the Passover way later. And I'm going to show you how to figure out if your new moon date is correct also. And I'm going to show you using only Job 38 and Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. I'm going to show you very simple. All right. Now, over here, same thing. Look at the count. It's at 18 now. All right. It's at 18. Now over here, it's at 18. All right. It's at 18. So over here, we began it on the so-called 7th of April. All right. When you look at that, so-called April 7th. All right. Now over here, all right, it began on so-called March 27th, which remember, all of these days, March, April, February, that's all fake. That does not exist. The Gentiles came and put a solar year on top of the Hebrew lunar year that goes by lunations. And then the weeks go by evening and morning, perpetually in groups of 7. So this lunar dates in the lunar moon is what we had over top of a backdrop of 7 days, 7 days, 7 days for eternity. All right. So now up here, March 27th, the beginning of the first constellation, we began a new year. Over here, the end of the fish constellation, we began a new year. 26 degrees, we began a new year on March 17th. And now this year, we began a new year, going to begin the new year on 2019 on the 5th of April, all right, at 4:51 a.m. on the 5th, which means from that previous sunset, April 4th, we begin the year. Now, when you look at this, and this, all these months, whenever your new moon date is correct for the new year, whenever it's correct, Passover, the moon is going to always be in this constellation, which is called in Hebrew Mazanyam, which means scales. Mazanyam, scales, to weigh something. What does that represent? We just read in Exodus, in the Torah portion, about how Moses sent the Levites to do what? To execute justice, fairness, righteousness, punishment upon those of our people that wanted to worship the golden calf. 3,000 of them got killed. So that represents the tribe of Levi, which, you know, Levi is always going to represent the law. And also is going to represent, you know, sacrifice also. So now from Levi, these scales of justice, okay, Mazanyam, that they call Libra. Libra is the more like the Latin word, I guess, for the word scales. Okay, that's why the abbreviation for a pound is an elbow. All right, elbow, or LB, which is the abbreviation for pound. All right, so that's what that scale is, weighing something, your deeds and your actions and your obedience to Yahweh versus your sins and your disobedience. Where you at? Okay, represents that balance also of equity, the fourth pillar of wisdom. All right. So now it also represents the scales, which represent justice, judgment, and the law. Okay. Scales, justice, judgment, and it represents the law. Okay. Because the word for this word right here, once again, Mazanyam, means skills, to balance something. Right? You have the movement of the water, and then you have that sword to execute that judgment, to execute justice. And then you have the Nawan, the fish, fluidity, movement, you know, a lot of, you know, like a lot of things to consider, moving through thoughts and ideas and concepts. All right, Mazan. All right, and then you got Mazan Yam. So that's going to be a scale. Remember that scale is the between the water and then the fish. You got what? You got a sword. Okay, you got a weapon. So it's water, weapon, and fish. That's what the scale represents. That's what the scale means. Water, weapon, and fish. All right. So you have the water and the fish separated by the weapon. Right? Separated by the weapon. So the fish in the water is cool. Fish get taken out the water. You're going to get killed with that knife. And then you're going to get sliced up and get gutted. But that Zayan, that weapon in the middle, is going to determine whether he stays in the water or goes into your hand. All right. So what is your desire? So now when we look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, what I use in the battle of the mind. When we look at all 8 of these different new moon dates, when you go around the time of the Passover, the moon is always going to be going through this constellation right here all the time. So that's why the Most High said that he gave us these constellations for signs, seasons, days, and years. So these constellations are supposed to help us determine, you know, our years based on the signs that they show to us, and that indicates the Mawa'ijim, the seasons, the holy days, the time of worshiping. And we also know that if it's to determine the season in Abiyab or Abib, when it's determine that season, we know that this is going to be the season that we're going to start to plow and bring forth our ox, okay, from their house. And then we're going to put our hand to the ox, and then we're going to go back into our house. And then the ox goes in his house, and we take the ox from his house in our hand, we do our work, and then we put them back in the house. So that's Abiyab. So that's Abib. And after Passover, we had that the first sheaf offerings were offered unto the Most High. All right. And you know, around that same time period is when we started to plan again. Now we want to go into Pleiades. Pleiades is the group of stars, that they often call the seven sisters, which kind of is reminiscent of wisdom. But what Pleiades is, and let me get my notes right here because I want to be accurate with what I'm saying. Okay. Let me tell you about Pleiades. Okay. Pleiades is the constellation that okay, the brother right here, okay, Lindbergh, he talked about Orion. Is a sign of spring in Leo when Orion rises in the west, and then the stars of spring, which is the Pleiades, are rising in the east. And then okay, so that happens. All right, so those stars are rising, you know, in the east, but then the sun, you see them coming, you see them on the east, and then the sun comes up and blocks them out. And that's how you know that you're going into Pleiades, you're going into the season of Abiyab, because you're going to see it in the sky. Not that this always happened, but it's going into that, all right, because it's wide, so it actually it's actually on the far side of Taurus, and on the other side of Aries, which once again, here is Aries right here, okay? Ahayal Talat. It's on the other side of Ahayal Talat, and then it gets blocked out when the sun comes up. All right. So that's how we deal with that right there. All right. So we have to know, you know, what's going on inside the skies when we're making these calendars and when we're making these maps also. So now the new year, here we got some Mazzaroth in the season, or the 12 signs of the Orion belt, to guide Arcturus with his sons, to guide them. Hallelujah. All right. Psalms 104 and 20. All right. Hey, go into Psalms 104 and 20 real quick. Psalms 104 and 20. All right, Psalms 104 and 20. Go ahead.
Thou makest darkness, and it is night. Wherein all the beasts of the forest do creep forth. The young lions roar after their prey, and seek their meat from Elohim.
Okay, Psalms 104. All right, so now let's get into Psalms 104 and 20. Read that.
Thou makest darkness.
Okay, now read Job 4:13. Read Job 4:13. Job 4:13. Job 4:13. I read that.
In thoughts from visions of the night, when deep sleep falleth on men, fear came upon me, and trembling.
Okay. That the whole verse? Mm-hmm. You finished with it already? All right. Okay, so now in meaning what? Passover is on the 14th day of Abib, and then on the 15th day, we start to observe the Feast of Unleavened Bread. All right. So when all these dates, when you go check them out, the Most High saying He gave us the Mawa'ijim. When you go to Genesis 1:14, He gave those to us for the seasons, for the feasts, for the celebrations, which is talking about the constellation, the circle of stars. So when the year starts, we're right here. All right. When the year starts, we're right there. When the feast day comes in, we're going to be right there. Inside of this constellation, that's where the moon is going to be at, inside of Mazaniam. All right, always. So that's how you know if you calculating your month, your first month of the year, and then if you calculating your feast day for Passover the same way. Same thing with this right here. When you go into April, so-called April 5th, all right, the sun's gonna set, all right, on April 4th, and then at 4:51 in the morning, is gonna be a conjunction. A new moon is gonna line up with the sun. When that day comes in, when that event happens, the whole day has to be kept as a holy day. The whole day. So once you keep that as a holy day, when you go into the future and you go 14, 15 days on this date, April 4th, and you go into April 18th. Okay, April 4th, but then you go into April 18th, sunset, and then you look at April 20th. So if you look anywhere between April 17 and 18 is the 14th day. Then 18 and 19 is the 15th day, right? So if you go look on an ephemeris and look where what constellation the moon is going to be in, is going to be in that constellation, which represents what? Which represents the tribe of Levi. And the tribe of Levi, I'm going to show you how important the Levites were at the Passover. Okay, we're going to look for it in Chronicles. All right. I believe, let's say 2 Chronicles. Going to 2 Chronicles and let's look at 2 Chronicles and read verse. Let's see. I don't know if I want that one, man. Let's see, I don't know 29:34. I don't want that one either, man. Let me have we got to start in verse 2 Chronicles chapter 30, and let's read verse 13. Go ahead. Verse 13 on down.
And they're assembled at Jerusalem.
So at Jerusalem under King Hezekiah. Go ahead.
Much people to keep the feast of unleavened bread.
So many people came to Hezekiah to they were coming to keep the feast of unleavened bread. So they said, you know what, we're going to go to Jerusalem and we're going to keep this feast day. So they came up to Jerusalem and they're keeping the feast day. Go ahead.
In the second month, a very great congregation.
In the second month, because the first month they must have missed it. When you read the scripture, they missed it. So then they had to keep it a second month, all right, and do it the right way.
That were in Jerusalem.
So they had false altars worshiping false gods in Jerusalem. Read.
And all the altars for incense took they away and cast them into the brook Kidon. Then they killed the Passover.
They what?
They killed the Passover.
So they killed the Passover, meaning they took the lamb and they killed it. Go ahead.
On the 14th day.
On the 14th day, go ahead.
Of the second month.
Of the second month. So they did it on the second month because the Torah says if you miss the Passover on the first month because of a journey or because you unclean, then the Torah tells you, Tawrat tells you that you got to do it the second month on the 14th and on the 15th day, all the way to the 21st day, ending it on the 22nd. Go ahead. So they killed the Passover, meaning they slaughtered the lambs. Go ahead.
And the priest and the Levites.
The priest, which is Aaron's sons, and the Levites, which are the members of the tribe of Levi. Go ahead.
Were ashamed.
They were ashamed. Why?
And sanctified themselves and brought in the burnt offerings into the house of Yahweh. And they stood in their place after their manner, according to the law of Moshe, the man of Elohim. The priest sprinkled the blood which they received of the hand of the Levites, for there are many in the congregation that were not sanctified.
So go ahead.
Therefore, the Levites had the charge of killing the Passover.
So the Levites were in charge of killing the Passover lambs. Go ahead.
For everyone that was not clean.
For everybody that wasn't clean. Go ahead.
To sanctify them unto Yahweh.
To sanctify the people to Yahweh, the Levites stepped in. Go ahead.
For a multitude of the people, even many of the Ephraim and Manasseh, Issachar and Zebulun had not cleansed themselves, and yet did they eat of the Passover. Otherwise then it was written, but Hezekiah prayed for them, saying, the good Yahweh pardoneth everyone. So
he prayed, saying, Yahweh, forgive these people that are eating of this feast that are not clean. Read.
That prepareth his heart to seek Elohim. Yahweh, the Elohim of his fathers, though he be not cleansed according to the purification of the sanctuary.
Okay, so that's it. So now what we're showing you is that the Levites were the ones that made those sacrifices. They were the ones that killed that lamb. And that's what we see right here. That these scales represent Levi doing justice and teaching justice to the children of Israel. Because Levi's job was to know the scales of the law. Levi's job was to tip the scales toward the way of righteousness. And now, when you're dealing with scales and you're dealing with law, what are you dealing with? You're dealing with a proper judgment. You're dealing with proper decisions being made. And you're dealing with, once those decisions get made, with those decisions being respected, those decisions being honored, those decisions being upheld like a court. Being upheld like what? Being upheld like a balance. There's nothing you can do with a balance that's being fair when you set 5 pounds on one side and you got 5 pounds on another side. There's nothing you can do to change that balance. And there's nothing that you can do with Levi to change the job that the Most High gave them to do, to be the ones that taught us those judgments, right? So when you look in Deuteronomy, let's look in chapter 33, and let's read verse 10. When you go to Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 10, read that.
They shall teach Jacob thy judgments.
So Levi is going to teach Jacob his judgments. Levi is going to teach the judgments of Yahweh to Israel. All of his judgments. Read.
All of thy law.
And they're going to teach the law. And that's why this scale right here goes into the Levites, because they had to teach the judgments. And also on Passover, they had to be the ones to kill the lamb. So tell me it's not true. Tell me it's a coincidence. So once they killed the lamb, which was Yahushua, and Levi was the priest, which is Yahushua became the high priest, and the scales of justice, Yahushua paid the price. He balanced it. So the judgment that was issued was, when you come through Yahushua, your sins are forgiven. And Levi, that scale represents the law. So this represents Levi. It represents Passover. it represents the sacrifice, okay, and it represents Yahushua being that priest, and Levi's job was to offer the sacrifice on the Passover, as we just saw in the book of 2 Chronicles. So now what we got to see is that every time Passover comes around, we in this constellation again. Yahweh fixed it. If you celebrating Passover and you're not in this constellation, then you're in the wrong time period. So that's what we want to show in terms of time and the stars. And next week we're gonna go a little deeper next week. We're gonna go a little deeper next week. Now remember, we in the 12th day of the 22nd day of the 12th month right now. Okay, in 10 more days, we're gonna go into another new month. In 10 more nights. So look at the sun now. Next sunset, and 10 more sunsets, you're gonna be on a new Hebrew month. It's gonna be 13 months. And when you go into this particular month, what's gonna happen? When you go into this particular month, you're gonna be, when you go into this new month coming up, that's gonna be the last month of the year. That's gonna be the last month of the year. All right, it's gonna be the last month of the year. So, so 10 more nights. Right, I believe it's 10 or. You gotta look at that math again. make sure. But I know we're in the 22nd day because the day began when the day began on the third of so-called February. Okay. And right now, so we in the 23rd, 4th, 5th. We're like in the 23rd day now, February. We're in the 23rd February now. 23rd day. Because we came in February, came in with the 3rd, right? The new month came in on the 3rd at sunset. Okay. And this is the 24th at sunset is when this day began. All right. It's 3, 4. So that's 22nd. So I think either way, y'all know what it is. Either way, let's take this part off. I forget when that day was. Well, hold up, it's the 22. All right. I'm on the 22nd day, which is the so-called 24. I think we got 9. Yeah, that's what I forgot to do. I forgot to lower that bottom number. So we 9 days away. So we minus 9 for a new month. All right. So I mean that can wrap up. Anybody got any questions or comments, man? If you on the call, if you got any questions, on the call. Lindbergh, yeah, Lindbergh said, thanks for the explanation. Now I understand tonight. I got a better understanding of why old school Israelites rejected the book of enlightenment, the Torah encoded truths, because they only accepted the Holy Torah. Thanks for explaining. And that's it. The Torah has everything, man. So if I don't see it in the Torah, I ain't fooling with it. I don't care what book you bring me, who do you say wrote it. You can tell me Yahushua wrote a book and everything is perfect in it. But then it got stuff in it that say, oh, you got to do this way. You've been doing this wrong. I ain't fooling with that book, bro. I'm fooling with the Torah. That's it. I'm going to be judged by the Torah. That's the only book we're going to be judged by, the Torah. So all your actions, you got to learn and know the Torah first. And that's why a lot of people go to these other books, because they don't live the Torah. Once you live the Torah, once you live and walk in the Torah, you dealing with another book and doing what that book says to you is like you being a man married to a woman, and now you want to go deal with another man. Not as a friend, but like you deal with your wife. I would never do that, man. So how am I going to put another book over the Torah? Oh, the Torah is not specific. Well, you might have a man that can do some stuff that your wife can't do. Are you going to start to deal with him on everything that your wife can't do? Nah, you're going to be just, SOL. You're going to be surely out of luck. Well, we don't want to say the word luck because that comes from a old Nordic false god. What was his name? Loki, right? Loki. That's where the word luck comes from, Loki. All right, the old Viking god of mischief. So anyway, yeah, the Torah is the foundation. Don't come with nothing else, man. You can call me old-fashioned. You know what I'm saying? You can call me old school. If it's not in the Torah to establish my doctrine, I don't care about it. Flat out. If it's not in the Torah, I don't care about it. If it's not in the book that I know is the book of the Most High, I really don't care about it, man, because it ain't going to get me into the kingdom, and it ain't going to explain nothing better than the Torah explains it. Genesis to Revelation, if it ain't explained in that, if it ain't explained in that, then, oh well. I feel sorry if you feel like you got to go to another book, but there's hope, though. You know what I'm saying? There's hope. You know what I'm saying? There's hope, man. There's hope for everybody. As long as you're trying to do what the Torah says to do, man, I ain't trying to confound nobody, man. I'm just saying, like, these are basic things that our children should know. But a lot of brothers want to confound you with their super duper knowledge. This ain't nothing, man. This is exactly what Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 says. That's all this is. And you can look at it and you can calculate it, and it's exactly what the scripture says. That Abib, the month that you began to plant your crops, the month you began to do field work a year, that new moon is when you begin the year. It don't say nothing about no other things. This is the month. He used what word did he use, man? Man, y'all getting on my nerves with this extra stuff y'all be doing. He said the month you begin. He didn't say when the sun and the moon is tilted. He said this month, this Kadash. Let's go into the Hebrew, man. Go into chapter 2 and read verse 2 in the Hebrew, man. Give me that one right there, man. I hope you're ready to read the Ibadiyat tonight, man. Right here, verse 2. Chapter 12, verse, what did I say, chapter 2? Chapter 12, verse 2. Read that. Under the Bayah. What did it say? It should say like Za'at. Go ahead and read it, man. Come on. What? You can't find 2? Look beside the right here. This right here is 12. The Yad and the Ba, and then go to Bayat right there. The first word is HaKadash. Okay. Now, I don't got this written down. I don't got this written down nowhere. All right, hopefully we bring it back up and take a snapshot of it. All right, so we're gonna erase all of this, and we're gonna just break it down into the Hebrew. You're gonna read it. We're gonna write the words down. All right, so let's erase this now. Bye-bye. All right, so let's write this down now. All right. So it's all gone. All right, so it's Kodash 12 to 1:22. All right, now my other pen. Okay, start reading, man. I'm gonna write down what you read. All right, I'm gonna write down what you read. All right, read.
HaKadash.
It says HaKadash. Okay, so now it says HaKadash, which is I'm about to write backwards, which is I'm gonna do it anyway. I was about to write that backwards, which is which is the month. Hakadash, what? Hazah, is that what it says? Hakadash, Hazah. The month, the this. It says the month, the this, read.
Laham.
Laham. It says Laham. Let me see. Lakam. Okay, Lakam. Okay. Lakam. La. Lakam. To them, okay. To them or y'all. Okay, go ahead.
Ra'ash.
Ra'ash, which means head or beginning. Okay, go ahead.
Kadashim.
Kadashim. Which means new. Which means new. Okay, but we can say we can say new. But it's new slash moon. Go ahead.
Ra'ashwama.
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 Okay. Which is first. Go ahead.
Hawa'ah.
Hawa'ah means like that or it. Go ahead.
Lakam.
Lakam. Which again means to y'all. Go ahead.
La Kodashia.
La Kodasha.
Kodashia.
Kodash or Kadashia?
Kadashia.
Okay. Not Kwa, right? Kadashia. Which means new moons. Is that it? Any more words? How many more words, man? I'm getting. Okay, what is it? Laham?
Hashanya.
Hashanya or Hashana?
Hashanha. Hashanha.
Hashan. Ha? Like that? Hashana. Which means the year. All right. So now, this is what the Hebrew says. It says this month, what was the month? He told us in Exodus 12, Abba Yab. Abba Yab. Okay. Which is a ox, house, hand. You know what? I can write neither, y'all, so forgive me. I'm just rushing through. Okay, I write neither. Okay. Ox, house, hand, house. Okay? That's what it means. That's what that word means. So now, what it says is it says this month to you all is the beginning of your months. Okay? The beginning of your months. Okay? Is the head of the months. Then it says the first ha'ah. So it is the first to you of the months, the year. So notice he said this month. This month is the first of the months. And then he says, we got months in there 3 times. This month to you all is the beginning of the months. Okay? The first, it is to you all of the months of the year. Now, this is what the Hebrew says. Now, what I'm saying is this. The Most High is telling you right here that you got to observe, all right, the Kadash, the new moon, the Kadash, the new moons, and then the Kadash, the new moons. But everything is regulated by this. This month, which is Abiyab, is the regulation of the month. Now, you know, sometimes you can start planting your crops on the 17th, but the regulation for spring or this work time right here, your ox, house, hand, and house. That's when you start to, you know, when you start to leave from your house more, you go to the animal's house, you take him from his house in your hand, you go to work, you put him back in his house. So you got the ox coming from his house because the ox got his own house. Give me Isaiah 1 and 3. Oh, here it is right here. The ox, remember, the ox has his own house. Let's read the book of Isaiah. Okay. Isaiah chapter 1, I'm going to read it. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 3. It says, the ox knoweth his owner. So the word ox, the ox knows his owner. All right? The ox knows his owner. So if you got an ox, the ox knows that he has an owner and he knows who his owner is. So the ox knows his owner. And then it says, and the ass his master's crib. So where does the ox live at? The ox live in the crib too. All right, the ox live in the crib too. And when you use the let me get the scripture on that. Because the scriptures tell you that the ox knows his owner and the ass his master's crib. My people Israel does not consider. There, when you have an ox, you got to keep the place where the ox is always going to be boo-boo, urine, and dirty straw inside where the ox is at. But you got to clean it. You got to clean it. But once you take that ox out, you know, he's in the field, you can clean it up while he's out of it. And then you bring him back, he cleans it all, he's going to make boo-boo all over again or urine all over again, and you have to clean up again. But that ox, as long as he's in that barn, or if you don't have an ox, you don't got to clean up the crib because ain't no ox there. So it's always going to look nice and pristine and clean. But a barn is supposed to hold animals. So if you have a barn but you don't have animals, of course it's going to be clean. You don't got no work going on in it. But once you get that ox start to working, now that ox is going to be making a mess, and the heifer is going to be making a mess inside that that barn, and now you got to go and clean it up inside the barn and the stalls. So the ox, you got to wash and clean behind this ox. All right. So you take the ox from his house, and you come from your house, put the ox in your hand, and then when you work with the ox in your hand, and then when you finish, you take it back to his house, and you go into your house. Your day is over. That's what the word Abba Yah means. See, a lot of times we try to translate something into a word that we heard everybody else saying. All right. I don't know what spring is. I mean, I know what the word spring is, but give me the book of Genesis chapter 8. Give me the book of Genesis chapter 8. All right, you got it? Genesis chapter 8, verse 22. Genesis 8:22. Read that.
Continually, all the days of the earth. Seed time and harvest.
So what? It says seed, harvest. Go ahead.
Cold.
It says cold and what?
And heat.
And heat. Go ahead.
Summer.
It say summer and what?
And winter.
And winter. You see that? So you go from planting your seed, and then it starts to get hot. It's the summertime. You go to harvest. It's cold, and then winter comes in. You see that? That's how it works. So we got summer and heat and seed. We got harvest, cold, and winter. All right. So these are what the Most High gave us in Genesis 8 and what?
Winter.
Right. Genesis 8 and what? 8 and what? All right, right. Genesis 8 and 22. So the year, all right, the year is divided into 2 sessions. Seed time and harvest. Heat and cold. Summer and winter. Is that it for that? Go ahead.
Day and night.
So day and night. Okay, let's even look at that. Oh, you can't see no more, can you? We'll do it over here. Daytime and nighttime. Meaning what? The days get longer when you start to plant your seeds. And then when you get to your harvest time, around the harvest time, when it starts to get colder outside again, that's when the days start to get shorter. The nights get more dominant. You see, the Most High got everything done decently and in order. So why, when you look at these months, we can't see that the month he's talking about right here is the seed time, when it starts to get hot on the earth again. When we see that the day starts to get longer. But it's all regulated not by the sun, not by the moon, but it's regulated by the constellation. How do we know that? Because these events right here are happening. And we already know from Genesis 1:14 that the constellations are given to us for seasons, which is Mawa'id. Mawa'idiyam. Given to us by, as you know, Mawa'idiyam. All right. So they're given to us as Mawa'idiyam. So now one of the Mawa'idiyam, or this word is often translated as seasons or feast. Now watch how we bring it back around. So the Most High said, keep the feast, my Mawa'idiyah, my season of Passover, in this month, Abba Yah. So when we see that it's starting to get warm on the earth, when we see that you're dealing with your animals more, when we see that it's time to put seeds out there, Now we know we're transitioning into the cold season, into the hot season now. So that month or that constellation goes back to Genesis 1:14. That constellation that this is happening in is going to be the first month of the year. It don't got nothing to do with the sun and the equinox. Like the book of Enoch tries to say, you got to dig deep into the scriptures and see what the Most High telling you in the Torah. I mean, we still in the Torah, man. We didn't leave the Torah yet for this right here. Look, right here we in, what's that? Exodus 12:1 or 12:2? Huh? Exodus 12:2. That's what this is. This is Genesis 1:14. This is Genesis 8:22. Why I got to go to another book when the Most High gave me the Torah? Why I got to go to another book to figure it out when the Most High gave me the Torah, man? Ain't that good enough for you brothers, man? And then right here, we link this up this month, all right, with the word that we saw where? In Leviticus 23, if you read verses 1 and 2. See, this how my board start to look all messy, y'all, because I'm just writing notes, different places. But you see, you know, where we went from, right? I need like a 18-foot board with a cameraman that can zoom in and zoom out. Or I can just give me a remote control, zoom in and then zoom back out. Or, you know, have a camera crew working in. But anyway, and if the cameraman, you know, and if you look at this closely, that's a key word, the cameraman zoom in. But then, you know, now let me get back to what I was saying. That's the cameraman clue to zoom back out. All right, so now you see it right here. Now, if you go in order, the Most High said, these stars, these are for your days and your seasons and your feasts. Start there. Then you go to Genesis, the Most High get more specific. These are for when you plant your seed and when you do your harvest. And I already told you that the seed time is what? It was Pleiades. All right, Pleiades. All right, Pleiades. So I forget how to spell it. So Pleiades. Right. So once you get Pleiades, now you know you're going into the seed time because it's going to be on that eastern sky with the sunrise, and it's going to start to get obscured. So now the Gadites, my people, used to say, okay, it's about time for us to start planting these crops and getting the soil good and ready to really go into the crops. Why? Because we see that the planting stars are appearing in the sky. So the Most High put these things up there for signs and season, days and years. But you have to know how to look at them, because that's going to tell you if it's going to be hot or cold. All right. Like, for example, you couldn't have kept Passover, you know, when I was born, because it was cold outside the whole time. All right. And it was in the 12th constellation still. All right. It was in 12th constellation still. And then like early so-called April, right, that's when it moved into the 12th constellation. So we had 13 months that year, right? Because March 25th, so-called March 25th, you know, was going toward the end of the year. All right. So that's how we got to understand. Look at you and your own. When were you born? Okay. What month were you born in on the Hebrew calendar? And what were the closest holy days to when you were born? When was that new year when you were born? When was Passover when you were born? And then you could calculate everything. So we know in advance when the new year is going to be, which the new year is going to come to us in 9 more days. If we know the new year is going to be here not the new year. If we know we're going to have a new month in 9 more days, what we got to do is say, okay, well, where is this constellation right here called the Scales? Where is that constellation going to be at 14 days after the month starts on so-called March 5th. If it's not 14, 15, 16, 14, 15 days, if the moon is not in this constellation, then you know you got the wrong year. Why? Because the Most High said that these signs and these lights of the firmament I'm giving to you so you know when your seasons are going to be, when your holy days are going to be, and you know when your year is going to start also. So that's about it, man. It's a 10. We've been on here long enough. I thank the Most High that He's allowed us to look in His Word and get a better understanding. I can go all night, man. I can go all night. So I'm gonna go ahead and get up off of here, though. Go ahead and get up off of here. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and shut it down now. So all praise to Yahweh B'Shem HaMashiach Yahweh Shai. It was good to share this with you, and we're gonna shut down over here, but we're gonna keep on going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny, right? We're gonna keep on going. You know what I'm saying? Duracell. All right, so we're gonna keep going. So Yahweh bless you in the name of Yahweh Shai. Anybody got any more questions or anything they want to say? I think everybody can be heard. I see all right, I see you on here calling from St. Louis over there. You got any if anybody on the phone line got any questions or comments, go ahead and speak up. We listening. All right, all praise to the Most High. All right, so no questions or comments from there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get up off of here. Shalom Lakam, B'Shem HaMashiach Yahweh Shai. And the reason we're going into this is because it's a series, man. It's techniques to dealing with time from a biblical perspective. And just dropping a video showing you what I think and what I know in one video and a lesson, that's not it. It's a whole series, and it's so many different ways to get a better understanding, so many different ways to polish, our understanding that we do have. You know what I'm saying? So may the Most High, increase us, man. So we would know how to do the things that He told us to do. Because we're doing this to please Him and to worship Him and Him alone. All right, so we're gonna get it straightened out in the wilderness. All you crescent moon brothers and all you Sabbathers according to the new moon brothers and all of you Sabbathers when the sun rises, brothers, Most High, if you make it to the wilderness, doing that idolatry, the Most High, hopefully, have mercy on you and show you what is the real way once we get into the wilderness. Okay, once we get into the wilderness, the Most High will show you how to do everything the right way. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty certain because everything lines up with Genesis 1. That's the foundation for everything, man. And when you look at Genesis 1, it's not just something superficial. This is complex and it's detailed, and we should be able to address it from the Bible itself, from Genesis itself. All right? From Genesis itself, we should be able to address, what it's saying. All right. Okay. Hey, Aria, when you come on here, man? I didn't even see when you joined us, Aria. I didn't even see when you joined us. All praise to Yahweh. What, mama? Yeah, see, yeah, good. So yeah, Aria, Shalom Lakah. All right, Hezekiah, Shalom to you. Ikaran, Shalom. All praise to the Most High. Shalom Yakanan, Shalom Hezekiah. All right. Shalom Ivan Solo Barreto. Shalom Isaiah Yasha'Allah. Shalom Lindbergh Tadasi. Oh, there thou art. All right. Maharaka, Shalom Laka. Shalom, Ra'as the Kwan Shapat Nathanyala, Earl St. John Stephenson. Shalom, Shalom. Shalom, Yardi. Avaya Yahuda, Shalom. All right, Shalom. And I seen Abaya up here somewhere too. Charlisa Humphrey, Shalom. All right. Oh, okay. There you go. Yahweh Shemir Shai Barakatha. All right. Ariya Ban Yasharallah. And Ariyah Ban Yahawada Yasharallah. Shalom. Malachi Maccabees, yeah, the Hebrew primer. Check that out, y'all. All right. Malachi Maccabees. The Bar Yehuda. Shalom. Shalom up. All right. Shalom again. Atan. All right. So. All right, everybody. So, Shema Yasha'Allah, Yahweh Allahayna, Yahweh Kad, Wa Ahabta At Yahweh Allahayaka, Bakal Lababka, Wa Bakal Napaska, Wa Bakal Ma'adka. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our power, Yahweh is one, and you shall love Yahweh your power with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. Yabaraka come Yahweh, Bashem Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Yahweh bless you all. In the name of Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach. Hallelujah. See you next first day, or next Gentile first day, with another episode of
It's About Time.
All right, hallelujah. Shalom Lakam.